Shop the Sherwin-Williams Memorial Day sale and get 30% off paints and stains May 15th through the 28th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Welcome in, everyone, to today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joined right now by the illustrious Jeremy Greco. Jeremy, what's that quizzical look on your face for? What you looking around for?
I was just like, what if I made a funny face? And then I saw the funny face, and I'm like, it's not that funny.
Well, thank you for being here, funny face and all. Later on in the podcast, we're going to have Preston Farr, friend of the podcast, join us to talk a little bit about the Royals farm system and what is good, what is bad, and what is ugly down there in the minor league system. But right now, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about this 3-game sweep against the Boston Red Sox. And
the Royals were swept by the Boston Red Sox. It's correct. And I think that's all we really need to say about that, Jacob.
No, Jeremy. I think we got some other things we need to talk about when it comes to the Red Sox series sweep. Before we get deep into that, though, I do want to remind folks that if they want to cry along with other Royals fans, if they want to call for manager Macachero's job with other Royals fans, you can do that on social media, sure, but the better spot to do it is at royalsreview.com. You got the game threads and the game recaps every single game over there. Go join the comment community and feed the feed at royalsreview.com. All right, Jeremy. So as we sit here and record on Friday afternoon, I almost said morning, the Royals are 20-30. They are 10 games under 500, and they've lost 9 of their last 10 games. They've already been swept 4 times, Jeremy. That's the most in the majors. What are we doing? What are we thinking?
Thinking the big picture thought that I keep having when I look at this team is somehow less than the sum of its parts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because I look at catcher and I go, well, Southey's hitting this week. Carter's hit other times. Catcher, I still feel generally good about the catcher position. I look at first base and I go, Vinny's not hitting right now, but he did for a little bit. I think he will later. I look at second base and I go, I kind of like that Massey Lofton platoon. It's not producing, but I kind of like it. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously shortstop, looks MVP-ish again. Miguel Garcia is having a little bit of a slump, but he was having a real hot streak for a minute there, even when they were losing. You look at the outfield, it's one of the better outfields in baseball, Jacob. We said if the outfield works, this team is good. The outfield is working.
Yep.
Somehow,
it really is.
The starting pitching, they've dealt with some injuries, but I mean, Seth Lugo, you're like, Seth Lugo hasn't been very good. He's one of the most valuable pitchers in baseball by FWAR, so he's not been that bad. Michael Wacha, we've talked about having some of the best baseball of his career. Chris Bubich hasn't been as good as we'd hoped, and he's been hurt. Cole Reagans hasn't been as good as we'd hoped, and he's hurt. No, Cameron hasn't been as good as we've hoped. The bullpen has not found any kind of groove. So you can almost, even though the offense is a big problem right now, you can almost blame this on the pitching in kind of a weird way, where if the pitching had been consistent, I think you'd be looking at least a 500 team, but the pitching has been incredibly inconsistent. I don't know what to do, Jacob. The sum of the parts. Why aren't the parts adding up?
Well, I think that a lot of Royals fans are coming to that same conclusion, though. This team is not just meeting expectations, but this isn't a talent deficient team, right? This is a talented squad, and it's just not come together on the field. I think that's why a lot of people right now are turning to, hey, Q, this is why we want you gone. And here's the thing. I am going to steal 2 things from Josh Vernier this show. I will fully admit that.
Since you confessed to the crimes up front, no one will charge you. That's how that works, right?
I
if
think
I
so.
rob a bank and then I go say I robbed that bank, I get away with it.
Yes, I think that's how it
Okay.
works. But I want to give, I don't like just blatantly doing something else that someone did without giving them credit first. But I listened to the last 2 post-game shows, and whenever
You're braver than me. I didn't even watch any of the 3 games this week.
it was tough. It really was. But because I knew the games were so tough, I knew the post-game show was going to be it was going to be worth tuning into. But whenever he came on, he started off with saying, "I don't have any defenses. I don't have any ammunition." Because usually if the team's struggling or sliding a little bit, things like that, he will push back on "Hey, no, this is we got to have some patience. He is a very contextually minded Royals
You love to
broadcaster,
see it.
excuse me. I do. I really, really do. But knowing that and hearing that, hey, I don't have any defense for this team right now. You could say some outlandish things things we would have considered outlandish a month ago. And unfortunately, I can't really defend folks.
Well, a month
That's
ago, 3 weeks ago, they were in a playoff spot, Jacob.
Yeah. Yeah. And so sorry, you bring up a playoff spot, and I have heard that argument for or some Royals fans hey, we're still X amount of games outside of the final wild card spot. I get it. I understand that the AL as a whole right now is struggling, but you have to believe that more of these teams who are better than their records suggest are going to start pulling away from the others. The overachievers are going to go back to the median. And unfortunately, right now, I can't look at the Royals and say, hey, this team is underachieving. They're going to be better, because there are so many things going wrong with the team.
And that argument made a lot more sense when it was 2.5 games and they were about to play the Red Sox, who were one of the teams that were worse than them, who
Yeah.
were kind of in free fall, had fired all their coaches, started all kinds of drama. And you were like, well, if the Royals can get right against them and then just kind of keep rolling for a little bit, then maybe something will happen here. And yeah, now they're worse than the Red Sox, and they're 5 games back or 4.5 games back of a playoff spot. And 4.5 is not that many, especially this early in the year. You can make that up in a week of good baseball.
Right.
But instead of one team needing to lose a bunch of games, it's almost every team in the American League has to lose all those games for the Royals to get there.
Exactly.
It's not just the distance, it's the number of teams in between.
Correct. It's a very crowded field right now. And I just don't this was a team that not just us, not just optimistic Royals fans, but national media, several people who talk about baseball professionally were like, hey, Kansas City Royals are going to be competing for an AL Central crown. They're going to be competing to establish themselves as a competitive team, at least in the division, for the foreseeable future. And right now, we're back in early 2000s territory. We're back in early 2020s territory for the Kansas City Royals. This is a very disheartening spot to be at for Royals fans. And just to echo it again, I don't have a defense of anyone right now. I can't really say trust the process with Q. I can't say, hey, X, Y, or Z is going to get better simply because it can't get worse, right? But we have continually see this Royal season, it can get worse, and it will get worse.
I watched the Royals during the Buddy Bell years, Jacob. I know to never say it can't get worse.
Yep. Yeah. So let me, with context in mind.
Speaking of national media,
yes,
I was just going to say, speaking of national media, you know how I know the Royals are done? Michael Baumann wrote an article and said he thinks the Royals are gonna pull out of this. So
nope.
We're cooked, baby.
bet the opposite on that. All right. So let's
it's not Baumann, it's Bowman. It's the former executive, not the
Jim Bowden,
full-time writer.
Jim Bowden.
Jim Bowden. There we go.
Yeah, Bowden.
Sorry, Michael Baumann. I didn't mean
to
accidentally throw fire your way. That you're good. I like Michael Bauman. It's Jim Bowman that I think
I,
is.
yeah, I knew who you were talking about on that. And yeah, like the Royals right now, rightfully so, like everything from the Athletic and things like that, they're considered like a bottom, I would say, 6 team in the league right
They
now.
have the third worst record, I believe. Only the Rockies and Angels are worse than they are.
Yeah. And it's like right now it is rough, 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 rough.
And
Oh god.
I was just gonna say, going back to the Red Sox really quick, one of the other things is that, like, this is and I'll say this is how it felt when they were losing that final series to the Yankees, or that last series to the Yankees, of they're not just losing, they're playing bad baseball.
Yeah.
The base running errors are particularly egregious, it felt like, against the Red Sox, but they did come out of the spiral after the Yankees series. That was
They
right
did.
before they went and swept the Mariners the last
It
time,
was.
and now they're gonna play the Mariners again this weekend, Jacob.
That they are. They have 3 on deck against the Mariners, and hopefully, this is, just 10 games ago, we were talking about this team at 19 and 21, and now
We
they're
were talking
20 and
about getting
30.
back to first place.
Yeah,
They were like they
exactly.
were half a game out of first place.
Yep.
Life comes at
Not
you
good.
fast.
It does. It does. Some other record things just to keep in mind. Now they are 4 and 12 in series finales, which is just a massive departure from where they were in 2025 when they were 33 and 19 across the entire season.
That was one of their
That was
calling cards was, "You can't
yeah,
sweep us. We're gonna win that final game."
right. And it is the complete opposite this year. And now they're 4 and 9 in one-run games, the second worst in the majors, ahead of the Blue Jays, who are 4 and 10. And each of their last 4 losses have been decided by 1 run. Here's here's another way to describe how I'm feeling about the Royals right now. So I do the rumblings for Wednesday morning on royalsreview.com. Highly suggest you go start your day over there with that. And it was Tuesday night's game, and I watching it at that point, I had no faith that the Royals were going to come back. They were in an absolute position to come back, but I think it was like the seventh or eighth inning. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna type this. I'm gonna type this whole intro part. It was like the issues continue for the Royals as they lose to the Red Sox. I hit save on it, and lo and behold, it happened. Like there's nothing that inspires trust and confidence in this team right now. Like they went out there and wasted a great start from Michael Waka once again.
I was gonna say, I may not have watched the games, but I always keep an eye on game day, and I saw the Royals were leading 3-2, and Michael Walker was at over 100 pitches after 6 innings. I said, "All right, who in the bullpen is gonna blow it today?" And, I've been a defender of this bullpen at, most of the season. I don't feel like I can defend it anymore. Of course, now it's also missing Matt Strom,
Yeah,
which is not helping. Steven Cruz, Jacob, Steven Cruz will look so good, and then he'll just throw an absolute meatball,
yeah,
and that's what he did. He threw an absolute meatball, and the lead was gone, and I knew the offense wasn't the resiliency that the Royals showed during that winning stretch has vanished again.
yes. It absolutely has. It's very like that's more of the frustration because we've seen better from this team. We know they can do better. They just simply aren't.
It really, to me, feels like the White Sox broke this team because the
Mm,
offense came back in both of those first 2 games against the White Sox, and then they didn't come back quite enough, and then they lost those games, and the one game they won was from just phenomenal pitching. They won 2-0.
yeah, yeah. So here's the one thing on Steven Cruz because I do think he's pitching better this year than he has in previous years, but he has been absolutely unlucky right now. I truly believe that he's just been an unlucky pitcher because I'm looking at his I love pitcher list. We all know that they got their PLV score over there, and they chunk up the pitches and like, hey, this was a quality pitch, this was an okay pitch, and this was a bad pitch, and this was a mistake. Like absolute, hey, this is a bad pitch and it is in the zone. So you expect it to be demolished or bad things happen. He's got a 2% rate on his mistake pitches. That's less than half of the average from
Wow.
relievers. And that is nearly like his career average is 5.7%. Last year, he was 7.3% on these mistake pitches. He is pitching better, but it is in the absolutely worst moments.
Yeah.
It's very
And they're not
frustrating.
missing when he does.
No, they're on top of it. So I don't. Number one, any Royals fan out there listening, first off, I greatly appreciate everyone commenting on Spotify. It has been a very, very, very busy week on Spotify comments, so thank you for that. Please keep that going. A lot of good discussion in there, I think. Primarily thanks to Jeremy for responding to those messages.
I always respond. More people are
Yeah,
talking. I have something to respond to. So
exactly. I bring that up though because I hope that no one is being rah about the Royals right now. On that same post game show I was listening to,
you hope
there
that no
was
one is being rah-rah? Like no one's
yeah, like
excited for them?
I
What do you
I
mean?
hope that no one's excited about the Royals right now. I hope that there were some callers on the post game show, right? One that really got me frustrated was there was a guy who called in and said, "Hey, we should just be thankful to have a team
Oh
in
my
the city." Like I'm not. No,
That's not
it's
how any of this works.
no.
It's like going to watch Madam Web and being like, "Well, I'm just thankful we have a movie theater."
I'm
No?
just thankful I have a movie. Yeah, no. It's I there's nothing to be excited about for the Royals right now. They have one of the best position players that this franchise has ever seen in Bobby Witt Jr.
Baseball's ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's proven that he could bounce back from those cold opens
I
really
think
well.
he's I genuinely think he's top 1% in baseball history.
Really well. I mean, yeah, that's in baseball history probably overall. Yeah,
There's a
I
I mean,
think
there's a
that's fair.
lot when you talk that many guys, there's a lot of guys in that 1%, but he's
Yeah,
in there.
yeah, he absolutely is right now. Lead Get this, leading the league in FWAR by a massive point 0.8 gap. He has 3.3 FWAR in 50 games. In second place is Shea Langoliers at 2.5. He is doing absolutely great things at the plate now. He's doing great things in the field. We got 15 stolen bases from him for goodness sakes, and he just can't get across home plate. It's I think that's where a lot of the Royals fandom's frustration is not enough. Is this frustration at the 3 and 4 hole? The production there has just been the worst in the league. And, at the end of the day, this is a results based job. And I do think that you can trust the process and you can talk all this stuff about not wanting to bump veterans out of their role and things like that. But a veteran's job is also to keep guys engaged, to keep guys going and competitive and things like that. And I don't believe that what we are seeing on the field shows that people like Vinny and Salvi are getting that job done. So
It's hard to
I
get
think they
everyone
need to
else
get bumped down at the very least.
it's hard to get everyone else motivated when you're not doing well. To be a
It's
leader
hard,
in a
yeah.
clubhouse, you have to be performing. That's part of it. And I I honestly, ever since the whole social media temper tantrum from Salvi, I question whether he's ever been a leader on this team. People say, "Oh, he sets the tone, blah 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 blah." I fully believe that he's loud and having a good time in the clubhouse, but leading? Like, I can be loud and having a good time when I'm hanging out with people. That doesn't mean I'm leading anyone or anything anywhere. That's not the kind of behavior you expect from a leader. To go on social media and throw your coach under the bus like that, or your manager under the bus like that. Um, and Vinny, I believe, wants to be a leader, but I also believe that Vinny is struggling, and Vinny has to kind of figure himself out. While he can't be out here being like Michael Massey, do better when he's not doing better, you know? One of my favorite things is when Vinny will go over to Jack in the on deck circle and be like, "Hey, Jack, look for this," and then Jack will almost always get a hit. But if Vinny's not seeing the ball, he can't be telling Jack that stuff. He doesn't have anything to offer him, so it's just I you can blame them for not leading. You can say nobody's leading this team, and I get why it feels that way. I'm not sure it's true. People I trust tell me that Matt Quatraro is still really tuned into the clubhouse mental side and emotional side, even if none of his on-field decisions are making a lot of sense right now. Um, so maybe he's leading inside the clubhouse, but the fact of the matter, and this is a thing we hear all the time too, is that every team looks flat when they're not winning. Every team looks like they're not trying all that hard when they're not winning. Because what's there to get when they feel like they're not flat? It's because they're out there having a good time. They're celebrating. What's there to celebrate when you're losing 4-2? Nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
My big thing right now is not so much who's being a leader. Why aren't we making changes?
Yeah.
Why is Alex Zumwalt still the hitting coach? Why are Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino still batting 3-4 in the lineup? Can we at least bat them 3-5 in the lineup? Can we at least break them up?
No, they need to get pushed down. I'm sorry, like
for sure. I think they should be batting 7-8 right now. And you can give me all the, well, who should bat 3-4? Anybody. It doesn't matter. And there's people going, well, why is Isaac Collins batting fourth against Connolly early? Because no one should be batting fourth. It doesn't matter. At least he's getting on base.
Mm-hmm. This team right now.
My question is, why aren't, if it were up to me, I'd be having Collins and Thomas platooning the leadoff spot, and I'd drop Michael Garcia down to batting cleanup or batting third. Because right now he's not hitting for a lot of power, and honestly, the OBP, he's kind of in a slump right now. But he's shown something this year, and he's shown an ability to hit. And on the topic of Michael Garcia, y'all can miss me with the he doesn't try hard enough stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with that anymore. Yes, he probably didn't get to second. He probably got thrown out at second because he wasn't coming full out of the box for that single. But how often does that throw go all the way home? One out of 20 times? 1 out of 50 times? So the correct answer isn't Michael Garcia should have been running harder there. It's Michael Garcia should have stayed at first. Okay? Like, sometimes you go, well, maybe he's going to do this. And you come out of the box and you go and you're like, he did it. And now I get to go to second. And that's a great play. Good job. Thank you. But sometimes you got to recognize I didn't come out of the box full speed there. So I need to not try and take that extra base this time. And let's play smart. Sometimes you need to just play smarter, not harder. And I feel like the Royals miss that a little bit.
Oh yeah. For example, working smarter, not harder. 15 caught stealing so far this year. That is the third highest in Major League Baseball, compared to only counting stats, right? It's all about ratio and things like that. They have 33 stolen bases as a team, and yet they have 15 caught stealing. Like the leader in caught stealing, the Rays with 22, but they got 53 stolen bases. So I don't know, man. There's not a lot for this team to hang their hat on, right?
Can I want to quote manager Matt Quatraro in a post-game press conference. That this article just went up on Royals Review. Matthew Lamar sometimes is able to be a credentialed media guy at the Royals games, and he posed a question to manager Matt Quatraro. I'm not going to read you this whole article. You should go read this whole article.
Please do.
There's a lot of questions and answers. It's most of the press conference, but this question to smarter, not harder. I think is the thing that I really want to focus in now that just kind of popped into my head, and then I said it, and then I'm like, man, that I like that for this Royals team. So this is a question Matthew Lamar asked. You mentioned the hustle double earlier, so he's asking, or this is Lane Thomas had a hustle double, and then later on, this is the game that Michael Garcia got thrown out. This is the game Lane Thomas then got caught. I'm not sure what happened, how he ended up out at third. I again wasn't watching the game. So Lane Thomas made an out at third after the hustle double. But the Royals are a large part of the attitude of the team is aggression. Sorry, brain reading is difficult for me. But the Royals are third in the league in total outs on the bases this year. And you could talk ratios, you could talk, are you getting a lot of extra bases? Which some of the stats will say they're getting a large number of extra bases too. But the like you said, that Jacob, those ratios are maybe still not there. How do you sort of reconcile with we want to be aggressive versus we're making a lot of outs on the base paths when maybe we don't have to? And this is Quintrero's answer, and this is where I go, are we trying harder or are we trying smarter? Quintero says, yeah, I mean, again, I think not all of those are going to be equal, right? Because some of them are they're talking about stolen base opportunities. Some of them are talking about things like tonight where the aggressiveness is warranted. And some of them were much earlier in the season as well. What does that mean? That's just words.
Yeah.
It's
a word salad.
That's saying there are different kinds of opportunities to take extra bases. And then he says some of them are talking about things like tonight where the aggressiveness is warranted, and was it warranted because you didn't get there,
right?
And some of them were much earlier in the season as well. So he's really focused on this idea of they were, a lot of these outs we made on the base paths were earlier this season. They're not. We need to create opportunities, he says. So we have to try to do things like that because we're not hitting a bunch of homers. Our offense has to be predicated on some of the aggressiveness on the bases, and sometimes you're going to make those outs. Listen, every time you make an out on the base paths, that's one less opportunity to hit a home run. That's one less, because you have a limited number of outs in a game. And every time you make an out on the base paths, you don't get to swing the bat because you made an out. Oh, no, you don't have to be aggressive on the base paths because you're not hitting home runs. You need to avoid outs. Name of the game of baseball is avoiding outs. It's not even scoring runs. I think I read this recently. I don't think I'm inventing this off the top of my head. I don't remember who wrote it. So sorry, I can't credit you. The name of the game of baseball is avoiding outs because there are 27 outs in a game. That is your one limited resource. In football, a lot of times you'll talk about controlling the football. If you've got the football on offense the most, you've got the most opportunities to score. And you don't turn it over. You've got the most opportunities to score. In baseball, your limitation isn't time, it's outs. And if you are giving away outs, an extra base is worth far less than an out. That's why stolen bases have fallen out of favor, is because that extra base you have to get that extra base so many times to make the outs worth it. And right now, what the Royals are telling me, the Royals are supposed to be an analytically minded team now. One of the things I liked about Quintero is he's supposed to be analytically minded. If you're making outs on the base paths, you're taking away opportunities to get hits.
Yeah.
And that's what I see right now, is a team that is removing its opportunities by trying to force base running aggressiveness that it should not be forcing. The Royals should take base opportunities when they can. They should be aggressive when it's intelligent, when it's smart. They're not being smart about their aggressive opportunities right now. And that's what upsets me. And when I listen to Matt Quintero give an answer like this that doesn't address the question, that treats aggressiveness as if it were a virtue on its own, that upsets me. That's when I get mad about this baseball team, is they're trying to play hard as a substitute for playing smart.
Yeah, not every time in life will effort lead to positive results. Jeremy, unfortunately, I don't have anything positive to say about this team right now. They have to figure this out Hopefully they figure this out against the Mariners. They obviously had success against them earlier on this season. So can they replicate that again? Can they feel good about securing hopefully a series win or at least a season series win if worse comes to worse? If Jeremy, I have one more question for you before we get to this podcast or prospect talk on the podcast. And this is the other thing that I'm stealing from Vern. So right now, you look at history, there have been 15 other iterations of Royals teams who have had 30 or more losses in their first 15 games. None of the full season results made the postseason, and none of the full season results had more than 72 wins in said season. If you had a button that you could push that would guarantee the Royals to win 72 games after this start, would you push it?
No.
Oh my, why not? Why not?
Because 72 wins is a terrible number of wins. That's not a playoff contender, and that's not a high draft pick. I never want to see 72 wins.
So would you rather have another 106 loss season?
Yes.
Oh man.
If the team's going to be bad.
But with Bobby though, we're going to subject Bobby to another season of that?
Listen, Bobby is getting paid plenty of money. I'm not worried about Bobby. If you want to pay me that much money to play for a losing team, I'll do it. I'll do it, Jacob. Don't test me.
All right, fair enough.
And it's not like Bobby is chained to the Royals forever, and he's going to have to put up with this forever. First of all, I think the Royals, if they continue to play poorly, I think that, and this is something we'll talk about more as we get closer to the trade deadline. I think the Royals, part of being less than the sum of your parts, is you have a lot of parts that you can trade at the trade deadline and potentially reload. And they still have high quality players for next year. You've still got, unless you trade any of these guys, you've got Bobby Witt Jr., Maikel Garcia, Jack Caglione, Carter Jensen, Cole Reagans. All these guys are still on your team next year. You still got a core to build around. Now, building around that team may require spending some money or spending some prospect capital to bring in some. We talked about at the beginning of the year, maybe your Isaac Collins isn't a 100% answer in the outfield, but he's a guy that you hope can get you to the trade deadline where maybe you can get that deal done that you weren't able to get done this year. So maybe they need to find an actual answer this coming off season instead of trying to kick it down the road. And again, Isaac Collins hasn't been the problem. Going back to the less than the sum of its parts, Isaac Collins hasn't been good necessarily, but he's got a 350 OBP. That's what we wanted from him.
Yeah, he's had moments, especially at home. Like he's a great player at home. That's where he thrives.
When the Royals traded for him, we said he's probably going to have OBP. He's probably not going to have a lot of power. He's got a 350 OBP. He's got 2 home runs.
He's lived up to kind of the expectations.
That's who we more or less thought we were getting. And we said it's not good, but it's better than what we had last year, and we just needed to be better than what we had last year.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He has been what they expected from him. And remember, all they gave up for Isaac Collins was Angel Serpa, who was never good for the Royals and who is not going to be pitching for the next year and a half for the Brewers.
Exactly. All right, Jeremy. Let's get the vibes a little better. We're going to take our first break of the episode, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Preston Farr about Kansas City Royals prospects. Go ahead and stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. We're very happy to be joined by friend of the podcast, longtime Royals voice of just overall prospects, does great work, Preston Farr. Preston, how are we feeling today, man?
I'm good. I'm feeling good, although I'm a little sad because usually whenever we're talking about prospects this early in the season, it's not a good thing for the major league teams, but I'm always excited for prospects.
Well, good. Glad to hear. If you already follow Preston on social media, you know how he highlights folks on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I highly advise that if you don't already follow Preston, that you go follow him on X. Where are you still doing the Substack, Preston?
Yeah, I am, but I don't commit to anything, like, regular just because life is busy,
Yeah.
so I try and do something on there at least every couple weeks,
There
once a
you go.
month, but, yeah, it's all free, so it's just for fun when I have time.
Perfect, perfect. If you want to find Preston's work, you can go follow him on Twitter at Royals Miners. Preston, I mean, you put it best, man. Like usually whenever we're talking about prospects this early in the season, it's either very, very good because there's a very good prospect waiting in the wings, or it's very, very bad because the major league product is that bad. And right now, it's the latter, unfortunately. So I do want to start off at the higher level though, because I remember, let's see, I think we just passed the 1 year mark of when Jack Caglione made his AAA debut for the Storm Chasers, and he was absolutely electric for it for like that 2 week run that he actually had there. And the fact of the matter is, like, a player like that does not exist in Omaha right now, and it is frustrating. Preston, am I wrong in saying that?
No, Omaha this year, at least for now, it really is just an extension of the 26-man roster, it feels like. It doesn't really feel like there's I don't think there's really any prospect capital there that you can speak of. I mean, you have Gavin Cross. I don't know, he's just kinda off the radar at this point. I had some hope last year. Oh, he's healthy, he looks like he's figuring it out, and then, he's in Omaha this year with, like, a 39% strikeout rate. Outside of Cross, you have Ben Kudrna, who's on the shelf. You have Ryan Bergert, who's out for the year. John Rave, we know. Peyton Wilson just came back from injury, so, maybe that's interesting, but it's all just a lot of 26, 27, 28-year-old depth pieces. There really isn't a ton of upside in Omaha, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. So, a quick glance at what, that run production looks like for the Storm Chasers. It's primarily, Drew Waters, John Rave, Cameron
Mhm.
Meisner, Nick Lofton, like none of these guys project to be frontline MLB regulars. We've seen Nick Lofton, we've seen him do good things out on the 26-man roster, but consistently being that guy at any given position just isn't in the cards for him. And of course, I would love to celebrate Brett Squires' start to his AAA run, but it feels a little premature to do so. Only 9 games in, but he's absolutely crushing the ball. Am I wrong there, Preston?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little remiss I didn't mention Squires. He's only been there a short time, but I think he had like 4 or 5 home runs in his first 6 games for the Storm Chasers, but my only I really like Brett Squires. I mean, he joined the system, I think 2023, undrafted free agent, and he just hit everywhere he's been, every level he's hit, he's hit, he's hit. He had an injury, a year or 2 ago that, slowed him down. But I think that the issue with Brett Squires is he doesn't hit lefties well. Sounds familiar.
Yep.
He's a first base DH type. He's played some corner outfield in the minors, but he really isn't that. So it's just like his opportunities are the opportunities of the major league roster. So I just don't. It's hard to see, a fit, and it is an elevated offensive environment in that international league. A lot of hitter friendly parks. He's not going to come up to the big league club and slug 500. He's going to be just another depth piece, that's kind of the story of Omaha right now.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Like, while so many different organizations, like we're seeing their prospect talent kind of mature at the AAA level, we're not really seeing that in Omaha. And then it's the same thing on the pitching side of things right now. Like, I look at some of their quote unquote top arms, top performing arms at least, and it's Bailey Falter, it's Eli Morgan, it's Beck Way. It's like there's nothing that says, hey, this guy is going to come up to the majors and be a surefire improvement. He's going to help turn this team around, or at least get some wins in the win loss standings. It's very disappointing, I think, and disheartening would be the right way to put this, right, Preston?
Yeah. I mean, like we said earlier, they had Ryan Bergert, they had Ben Kudrna, so there was some promising depth. Injury happens. A good thing we didn't trade Chris Bubich for anybody. But yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of journeyman starters, aging reliever prospects like Beckway, Eric Sarantola. He's looked good this year, but it's a lot of break glass we just really need something type of guys in Omaha, and there's not much upside.
Yeah, Jeremy and I a couple of weeks ago, like when the injuries really started piling up for the starting pitching side of things, we were talking about like, okay, break glass in case of emergency is Ryan Ramsey, and I think then he proceeded to go out and have like his worst AAA performance by an absolute long shot, and like
Mhm.
it just speaks to the injury status. It speaks to that starting pitching depth that we thought we had. But I know Jeremy is just happy that the Royals didn't trade Chris Bubich in general, right, Jeremy?
Yep, I'm still on that, I'm starting, obviously they're playing so poorly. I'm starting to look forward to who can they trade, and obviously Chris Bubich is right at the top of the list of who could they trade at the deadline. But part of me is like, what if you extended him instead? Pull a Seth Lugo and trade a Michael Waka. But I don't know if that actually makes any sense. That's me speaking as a fan of a guy more than even a fan of a team.
Yeah. Well, and I think the value that other teams see in Bubich is not what the Royals see in Bubich. And he's injured again. He's struggled with injuries a lot. If you're a team contending for the playoffs, I think Michael Wacha might be more alluring, important for you down the stretch because I think you can count on the dependability where Bubich, it might not be there.
Yeah, but I I've had this argument with other people recently as well, and my thought process continues to be that Chris Bubich has higher upside, and if you've only
Yeah,
got
for
him for
sure.
half a season, then if it was me and if I'm some other team looking at the Royals, I'm like, man, I want that high upside for the to finish this season out and hope that he doesn't get hurt again. Maybe he gets hurt next year, but that's next year's problem, and he's probably not on my roster next year. So Michael Waka and Michael Waka, let me be clear, has pitched some of the best baseball of his entire career this year, but he's also under contract for next year when he'll be another year older. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
could be a plus, but it could also be, okay, I want a guy for this year. Do I want to take on salary for next year?
yeah, exactly. There's a lot of different angles I think that go into it.
Yeah, there certainly is. And, we keep talking about extension of the 26-man roster, this, that, or the other thing. And like the results in Omaha are that as well. They're 23 and 24. They're just kind of hovering around that 500 line for most of the season. Um, there's just not. I remember at this point last year, there were at least two or three guys that I could say, okay, I want to turn on the Omaha Storm Chasers game to watch X, Y, or Z. Right now, there isn't that in Omaha, and Preston, the front office and just the organization are catching a lot of heat right now for the big league results thus far, and rightfully so. But I do wonder, like, how much blame should folks be putting on the current leadership for the lack of talent at AAA?
Maybe some of it. I mean, they made the change over the offseason with hitting development. Drew Saylor, they let him move on. But also, I think if you just think about like 2 years ago, who you would have expected to be in Omaha: Mason Barnett, Jared Dickey. These are players they traded to get Lucas Erceg. David Sandlin. He's in AAA right now for the White Sox, I believe. Now I think the Red Sox traded him. They sent him to Boston for John Schreiber. So I think there is some of that in there. It's I think 70% development and then just 30%. They made the decision to trade some of these prospects just to build the big league roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sandlin is a part of just this really, really good Charlotte rotation that the
Mhm.
Chicago White Sox have going for them. That's exciting, right? And I'm a little jealous of that personally, but hey, that's just the reality we live in.
You know what else is exciting in Chicago?
What's
Munetaka
that?
Murakami, who the
Yeah.
Royals could have signed this offseason. I know we're supposed to be talking about prospects right now, but I don't know, man. I'll leave it at that, I guess, as far as Murakami goes. And,
I
and to be
gotcha.
clear, I didn't like Murakami coming out of Japan. I thought he was going to strike out too much, and he may still strike out too much. But his bat in the designated hitter spot would feel really nice right about now.
Yeah, imagine him
Yeah.
sitting 4th or 5th in the lineup.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. And you talk about guys that we expected to be up in AAA by now. Like number one, I know when Gavin Cross was drafted, I was expecting him to be like the everyday right fielder by this time. And right now, he is just completely overwhelmed by AAA pitching. He just got his first home run on the season after 149 plate appearances. His OPS is down there in 460 territory. Yep, you heard that right. 460 OPS, the third worst on the team.
So I think it's perfectly maybe we're being too easy on them for what's going on in Omaha right now. Because one of the things we talked about at the beginning of the season was, boy, they sure do have a lot of veteran journeymen hanging out in AAA. There are basically no prospects. There's the Abraham Toros and such down there. But if you look in the lower levels, I feel like there's some stuff to be excited about, even in Double A. Am I off base there, Preston?
Double A, some. I think A ball is where most of it is. Low A, high A. I mean, just to touch on Gavin Cross, I loved him as a prospect when they drafted him. I thought it was a great pick. He's just injuries have really impacted him. He's had back issues. He just always seems stuck in the middle. Like, is he going to be a power hitter? Is he going to be a contact hitter? And he turns out to be nothing just because he's stuck in the middle. But I
Yeah.
think, looking at Double A, there is some. Carson Roccaforte, I think, he's really impressed over this year, last year.
The
But I
strikeout
think
rate
more
doesn't concern you?
it does. I think that's just, and even when you get to high A and low A, I think it's just a sign of how the draft has changed in the last 2 or 3 years. I think it was Kylie McDaniel. He had a piece, last week. Really, really good read. I would find it if I were you. Just read it. But it's just talking about how teams they've really changed in the last 2 or 3 years across the league. They're not targeting these college players that are, polished, that are going to get to the big leagues. They're really prioritizing higher ceiling. These high school prospects that just have loud tools, loud power, really athletic, but tons of questions. And they're prioritizing that ceiling, betting on, yes, we can fix the questions. So I think Roccaforte's a good example of that. He was a huge prospect when he was drafted. Great defensive floor, good, loud, batted ball metrics, but is the hit tool going to develop? And, it hasn't really developed to the degree that I would say, yes, he's going to be a big leaguer. But I think we see that with some of these Royals prospects. Blake Mitchell, too. Same thing. Loud power, really athletic for a catcher. Where's the hit tool? Where's the strikeout rate? Not great. So the Royals, I think, have followed that trend to some degree, but we don't see the development of those opportunities to the level we need to. And I think that led to some of the changes, like with Drew Saylor that I mentioned.
Yeah, and I think of a prospect like JC Vinek. Like, he that was one of his things coming out of college last year, right? Right, Preston was like contact. He was a
Mhm.
contact and he was a fielding guy. And like that is really translated well to the professional level for him. I want to go back and talk about Carson Roccaforte because he is absolutely doing great things there in Double A Northwest Arkansas. At a 131 WRC plus, he leads the farm system with 12 home runs in 41 games, including 10 stolen bases in that same span. Um, Jeremy is a noted Carson Roccaforte fan. And Jeremy, you said something when we were preparing for this episode, when we were messaging, that really stuck in my head. That at one point we were just kind of hoping that Carson Roccaforte would be a Kyle Isbell replacement, but this current version is looking like, hey, there is an opportunity here for him to be a Kyle Isbell improvement. Preston, do you think that despite the hit tool concerns that Rockford could be such a player?
Yeah, I do. I've been on the Rockford bandwagon for a long, long time. And
You have.
people were laughing at me when he had such a terrible season in high A. But I think he's just not a Royals prospect. And maybe the Royals are moving towards making this their type of prospect, but Kyle Isbell is a prospect, and even in the big leagues, just high contact rates. Not good contact, but the hit tool I don't think was a question. He had not much power to speak of. The plate discipline was, it's not great. He doesn't walk very much. Carson Roccaforte, power speed combination. The hit tool is really questionable, but He walks a crap ton, so it balances out some of the strikeouts. Hits for outstanding power, and the power only continues to improve. But I mean, who was the last Royals big leaguer that struck out 28, 29%, but also walked, 10, 11, and hit for power? Like, it's just not
Almost
common in
Jack.
Kansas City because they don't prioritize it, at least historically, and maybe that's a shift they're making in the farm system. But I do think just, to the root of your question, I think Roccaforte could be an upgrade over Isbell. His defense, I think, is better, which is
Wow.
saying something. It is
Yeah.
saying something. The hit tool, much, much more questionable, but you're gonna have more upside, I think, with power and walks, because power and walks translate to runs a lot more than singles and doubles.
And I
Yeah,
think he's
that they
faster than
do.
Isbell too, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I would say because Isbell's value in center field is not so much related to speed, it's just his routes. He makes outstanding reads on the baseball, and makes great routes.
absolutely, absolutely, and that is, unfortunately, everything that I or what I have seen and what I've read from Rockford is like he does have some issues getting to pitches up high in the zone. So hopefully, some adjustments there, some mechanical movement there will help address that hit tool concern.
Can
Jeremy, is there
can we just
anything else on Rockford?
can we combine Jack's swing where he only hits the high pitches and with Roccaforte's? Can we
Yeah,
That would be
copy
right.
that?
ideal.
A lot of that is just it's the bat plane also. That was the biggest thing that stood out for me, when Rockford was drafted was just his swing is just so he makes effortless power. And just looking at his frame and his makeup, his build, you don't really expect it. But,
He didn't have a lot of
the
power in
way
college, or
yeah,
didn't hit
no,
a
he
lot of home
didn't. It was
runs.
a lot of he was, a metric darling. Team said, "Oh, I can see the path there." He hits the ball hard. But I think the way his swing is, it's a very level swing. He gets to the baseball, barrels it up pretty often. But I think that swing path itself, it creates those issues up in the zone. So I don't think those will go away,
Okay.
barring, a serious change. And, if you're changing the swing a ton, you're going to lose a lot of what he does well. So, and he doesn't hit lefties very well at
No,
all. So it's just, again, it's like, we're used to hearing that like 7 times a day. Doesn't hit lefties, doesn't hit
Yeah.
lefties. So, yeah, that'll make it hard for him to be an everyday above average offensive piece.
absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Jeremy, anything else on Rockford before we pivot to pitching?
Now, I did have another, position player in Double A I wanted to ask about, Jack Colasingham. He played
Yeah.
some in spring training this year, and he's got some really good numbers, down in Northwest Arkansas. I'm A-plus name, call up Rockefort and Colasingham, and the names on the Royals go way, way up. Uh, any thoughts on him, Preston?
Yeah, we call these guys up and we're helping pay for those jersey letters on the back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think Kula Singham reminds me of a similar type of player as like a Brett Squires. He was drafted out of Air Force, I think. And really at the time it's like, okay, good minor league depth, probably, a higher floor than ceiling. But the same thing as Squires, he's just hit everywhere he's gone. They have started to move him around in the last couple years. He was more of like a first base type, and now he's been playing a lot of second base, more of like a utility type. So I don't know if I would really call him a prospect, but same as Squires, he's a guy I think that could get to AAA this year, and people start thinking about, oh, maybe he could give a spark at the big league level. But yeah, I just don't. I think he's just a high floor type of prospect, and I don't know how high the floor really is.
Valid.
Gotcha.
I mean, I was kind of thinking the same thing about Peyton Wilson a few years ago. I was like, oh yeah, like he'll be a utility type. He'll find some use on a major league roster. Meanwhile, here we are in 2026.
Hmm.
Um, so I want to go down one level to high A quad cities and talk about this pitching staff here. I do want to start off with the bad because I have been talking a lot about David Shields and how great he has looked this season. These last two starts have been absolutely brutal for him. 7 innings between the two games and 8 earned runs to 3 walks and only 2 strikeouts. Really something in drastic, just it's the polar opposite of what he was doing for the first 6 starts of this season. Preston, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any of his starts over the past couple of weeks, but can you just give us your thoughts on Shields overall?
Yeah, I really do like Shields. I still think he's the best pitching prospect in the organization. I think what you see this year is just development happening in real time. He pitched last year as first year as a pro, pitched the whole season, 70 innings. That's a lot for a high school kid, 18-year-old high school kid nonetheless. Um, I think you just see the development happening in real time this year. His strikeouts are up compared to last year. So I think you see some of these tweaks that the Royals are working through with, okay, your command's outstanding. Can we keep that and get some of these strikeouts? And he has lost some command. So I'm not concerned long term. I think it's just, he's starting to hit one of those walls. He didn't do that last year. He was dominant all season long. So I think from a development trajectory, he's still ahead of the game, I would think. He's still a teenager. He's pitching his first season in high A. And even still, we've seen, a good stretch of really dominant pitching. So I'm not
Yeah,
concerned. I think, he's just developing, I think, in real time. Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, like the 4 starts before that, I call them minor league quality starts. I just take it down to 5 innings because so many organizations limit their pitching prospects' ability to go 6 innings. But before that, he had 4 consecutive starts of at least 5 innings pitched, 1 or earned run or less, and at least 6 strikeouts. Like I'm not worried about him at all. Jeremy, do you have any questions on Shields before we talk about the other pitching prospect who folks think might be the better of the two between Shields and Churio?
No, I feel like Shields is I feel like we've got a pretty good grasp of who he is, and who he can be at this point because we've talked about him so much. So I don't really have questions so much as, I'm just waiting to see, waiting for him to earn that promotion to double A, waiting for him to earn the promotion to triple A, waiting for him to earn the promotion to the big leagues. I feel like these things are all inevitable. It's a matter of when and how much will he, will the strikeout rate come up? Will the walk rate stay low, et cetera, et cetera? It's kind of just a waiting game to see, does the stuff
Hmm.
continue to translate, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's just the last thing I'll say on Shields. I think it's just, can he maintain throughout the season? That was Frank Mazzucato's issue is, he could start strong and he was just gassed by midseason. Shields last season, he started the season throwing 90, 91. But then in the Carolina League playoffs, he's throwing 94. So I think that was encouraging. I think he it wouldn't surprise me if he finishes the year in high A, gets to double A next year, and he's, sitting at 93, 94 all season long. And that I think is where you'll really see him start to move through the system as a lefty. But, he has to get there first.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I always
Hey,
forget he's a lefty.
yeah, even more value there. Even like that's
Yeah,
one of the big reasons why I'm excited about him there.
yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
I completely skipped over another lefty to talk about, Jeremy. We spoke about him on the last podcast, I believe. Justin Lamkin
Yep.
got the
I
bump.
was gonna make sure we brought him up.
Yeah, he got the bump from high A to double A. Preston, do you have any thoughts? I didn't like Lamkin in the draft. I was like, okay, like this is an okay pitching prospect, but why are we drafting him so high? I thought, but lo and behold, he is absolutely translated so well to professional baseball.
Yeah, I was in the same line of thought. I thought he was maybe like a swing starter type. Chris Bubich, I think, was a big comp for him, but he looks so much more advanced than I expected.
Yeah.
He's already moved to double A, like you said. It I think he's like late next year, big league type of pitcher, to be honest. His fastball looks outstanding. And there is Chris Bubich there when you watch him, but it's they have to give him time, make sure he can stay healthy. But it wouldn't surprise me, depending on how the offseason goes, what the needs are, to see him big league ready by end of next year.
Okay. Okay.
I
Hey, Jeremy, I go ahead.
I love a guy who gets promoted to double A and keeps going. So
Yeah.
that immediately bumped Lampkin up my radar quite a bit.
Absolutely. Only 2 starts so far for him for Northwest Arkansas, of course, but only 5 earned runs allowed. Meanwhile, 15 strikeouts
Yeah.
to 3 walks. That's an absolutely stellar ratio.
And
Hey, Oh, go
And
ahead.
you know you've always got me on board when you say, Chris Bubich, so
Hey, Jeremy, I just peeked the time. What other questions do you have for Preston? Doesn't matter the level, doesn't matter the player.
I wanted to ask about Michael Lombardi. He's another guy that the Royals felt like they were kinda lucky to get in the draft when they did last year. The strikeouts are obviously crazy in A ball, but the walks are also up too. Any thoughts about what we is there something to dream about with Lombardi, or is he just gonna he's a reliever because he just walks too many guys?
I wouldn't call him a reliever till he is, but I think there's a lot of reliever risk. He's just pitching above his level, I think, because he was a college product. He's pitching at low A, so that reminds me a little bit of like David Sandlin when he was at low A. Is just like it was unfair. You're watching is like this guy doesn't belong here. He's like it's like a high schooler pitching against middle schoolers. But yeah, I think a lot of reliever risk. He's a name that I think we'll start to talk about as oh this is a promising prospect. He looks good, and then the Royals trade him. That's kind of the vibe I get because the Royals have done well with that with taking these pitching prospects and saying oh this is probably the best value we're going to have from him as a prospect. Let's get something now rather than banking on him eventually translating, which isn't a terrible strategy if you keep the higher ceiling guys. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying they will, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's how it ends up with him.
And, I guess final question from me, one bat other than Roccaforte to keep an eye on in Double A or High A?
Um, I mean the bats are hard because so
Yeah.
much of the Royals farm system value is in these international guys. These lower minor, low A type teenagers. Obviously, you have Josh Hammond, you have Sean Gamble. Ramon Ramirez has been outstanding in high A. He actually does hit lefties, so that's a plus. He's probably a first base type at the next. It's like Carlos Santana. That's how I feel with him. So he's a name I'd bring up, and then also Tyreek Kemp. He was like a fifth or sixth round pick last year. He just basically looks like Ozzy Albies' little brother. The swing is very, very similar. He's at high A, but I think he's a guy that we need to see him get to double A and see, how does he look once he gets to double A. But he's been really impressive so far this year.
Yeah.
Um, Austin Charles, real quick, sorry, I just remembered I wanted to ask about him.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. He had a rough stretch because he like popped like he was a big name. Everybody's talking about him. Oh, maybe he's a top five, and then he kind of fell flat. So people have stopped. So kind of like a post hype type of guy. I just when I watch him, the swing still just feels not good to me. I think he's still trying to figure out with his because he's like 6'4". So how does he make the swing fit that? And it's just very awkward at times. So I think he's a guy. Once he gets to double A, you'll see that start to really impact because the pitchers are going to attack that more up in the zone. He can get to sometimes, but inside he really struggles with. So I love what he's doing. I think he's still a top 30 prospect, but I just think he's going to hit a wall.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. Unfortunately, I did really like Charles when they got him in the 20th round back in 2022. I thought like, hey, this was a good get. Like this was a good way to cash in on one of those later round picks. And yeah, just the results have not been stellar thus far. All right, Preston. Well, hey, we greatly appreciate you joining us today for a while. Thanks for making time for us, and for
Yeah,
our
of course.
listeners out there, could you remind them where they can find your work?
Yeah, I mean, we talked earlier. I have the Substack, but I don't. I see Jeremy on there, so thank you.
Yeah, of course,
But
man,
I
I love
don't.
your prospect work is tremendous for the Royals, so I always wanna follow you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't commit to anything on there because it's just when I have time. It's all free. It's all for fun. So every couple weeks I try and get something. But it's nice to see Jeremy on there because I don't. He's not on X anymore, Twitter, whatever the hell it is. So I did try and
Come to Blue Sky.
it's just Twitter and Substack for me. I tried at one point to use Blue Sky and there was something else. I don't remember what it was. I think Threads at one point.
Yeah.
But it was just I felt like I needed to keep up with Twitter to get people to Blue Sky because I have the following, and it's just I gave up. I'm like, I'm just gonna use Twitter, and even Twitter, I try not to use as much because it's just a cesspool of
Yeah.
bots and terrible people.
Yeah.
Right there with you,
I
Preston.
I think at some point I decided I would rather be on Blue Sky with no followers than on X with the cesspool. It's like nothing is better than whatever I've got going on X. So
Yeah. No, I don't blame you.
All righty, Preston. Preston Farr, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, Preston. Have a good Memorial Day weekend, all right?
Thanks. Yeah, you guys too. Thanks for having me.
All righty, everyone. That was Preston Farr. All right, Jeremy. So I know we didn't after you dove in to the farm system a little bit more, how do you feel about it? Like what's the vibe?
I mean, high A and A ball obviously look good, but famously I don't pay attention to those numbers.
Yeah.
And as we discussed with Preston, Triple A is a bunch of journeyman guys just hoping the Royals have an injury. And Double A's, I mean, it's got a couple interesting guys. Like I said, Roccaforte, Coliseum are interesting to me. Lamkin, very interesting to me. Um, but when I look at the other, I was hoping to see at least one or two other pitchers that look really good. I think I saw one other outfielder in Double A that I really liked, but I closed all my tabs like a dummy. So I don't remember who all is in there. And I'm like, oh, give me that guy. I'll see if I can find him if you want to talk for a sec.
Okay. Yeah, this is like I think that as simple as it is, the win-loss record really describes like how I feel about this system. It's a bunch of like just one or two games below 500. It's a bunch of guys who like do just enough to produce. There's very few guys who are standing out who I can look at and say, yeah, I can see MLB level, not just development, but present tools. I think Roccaforte has present tools to be a major league outfielder if the Royals needed him to be, but like there are so few guys who I can see developing into such players, and it's disappointing. It's disheartening. One other name that I would be remiss if I didn't bring up is down on the Arizona Complex League, 19-year-old Corey Cousin. So the Royals drafted him back in 2024. He didn't play in 25 because of an injury. Right now, he's absolutely lighting that level up on fire. 1075 OPS in 11 games, and he ranked sixth in Baseball America's Robo Scouting tool for like, hey, this is the sixth best hitter in the complex leagues. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on down there. All right. We are going to take our final. Oh, sorry, Jeremy. I did not give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you want to say about the farm system?
Oh yeah, I was just the outfielder I was thinking of was Spencer Nivens, but I just looked again
Gotcha.
and realized he's only played 15 games this year and he's repeating Double A at age 24. So I mean the numbers are good, but also why aren't you in Triple A? Why are you only playing 15 games?
Right. Exactly. I think that's a good way to put it. All right, folks, we're going to take our final break of the podcast. Go ahead and stay tuned. Welcome back to the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. Thank you again to Preston for joining us for a good segment on Royals prospects. Certainly, some things to look forward to down on the farm, but unfortunately, there is no fix waiting in the wings in
No.
AAA.
That's another frustrating thing about this year is at least last year we were like, well, Jack Caglione and Carter Jensen can come up soon.
Yeah.
And with mixed results, obviously, but there was nobody even remotely close to being an answer in AAA or AA right now, unless you count Roccaforte, and I still think he's like a September guy at the early or the season's over and we've traded Kyle Isbell guy maybe.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. But we do still have plenty of games ahead of us. We're almost to the third of the way mark, and usually that is a celebratory thing. But right now, I'm a little exasperated about it. So, who are the Royals going to be seeing pitch for the Mariners this coming weekend? We got Logan Gilbert on Friday, George Kirby on Saturday, and Brian Wu on Sunday. It is a pretty good trio going for Seattle. Who are the Royals going to have go for them? Well, it's going to be Noah Cameron, Stephen Kolek, and Seth Lugo on the other end of things. So it doesn't feel like the Royals have the starting pitching advantage in this series. That does not bode well for this
Hardly
team.
anybody ever feels like they have the starting pitching advantage in a series with the Mariners, though. Let's be fair.
Very true. Very true. Friday night Friday night game, whoop de doo, and then Saturday and Sunday are both afternoon starts there in Kansas City. Real quick, Jeremy, what do you predict happening?
I might as well predict a royal sweep because it's kind of what they need if they're gonna pull themselves out of this quicksand they dropped into.
Absolutely. I'm predicting another series loss. I don't think they get swept. I think they at least pull out one victory here, but I don't have a reason why. Just I do
My
believe that you eventually have to win.
Yeah, my I having had a realization last year that I can predict whatever I want, whether I believe it'll happen or not, and that's just my prediction. So I predicted the Royals would sweep the Red Sox. Obviously, that did not happen, but I'm going to try it again with the Mariners. I will say
Okay.
an update for anyone who cares. My witch friend Cassandra Snow has successfully completed the spell as of Thursday afternoon. That will allegedly save the Royals. So,
All right.
maybe we'll see some of those results tonight.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. If you want to join other Royals fans as the game progresses this weekend, make sure you go on to royalsreview.com. Go join the game thread, talk about it. I'm sure everyone will be nice and cordial towards our team leadership upon the next loss. All right. Jeremy, do you got a review today?
You know what? I'm a drop an in progress review for you.
Okay.
How's that
All right.
sound?
Let's hear it.
Obviously I'm a big Dimension 20 fan. I've talked about it a lot. And one of my friends has been trying to get me to do Critical Role, and I went back and
Mm,
I tried to do Critical Role season 1 a while ago, and I was like, man, I'm just not feeling these vibes. But Critical Role campaign 4 was dungeon mastered by Brennan Lee Mulligan of Dropout and Dimension 20. And also knew, of course, Matt Mercer has been on D20 and he's the creator of Critical Role. Tons of voices that I love in video games. Abria Iyengar is part of Critical Role and also Dimension 20. And they have a few other voice actors that I've loved over the years. Travis Willingham, Liam O'Brien. I'm forgetting the names of the women that I really like that are on there. But just really fun. And I'm like, all right, if I'm ever going to get into Critical Role, it's going to be Campaign 4. So I picked up Campaign 4, and the first episode, I was like, man, I am so lost. Am I going to be lost this whole series? And by the end of episode 2, I was like, okay, I think I do have everyone's vibe now. And as I've started episode 4 or 5, I realized, oh, not every, because it's a huge. They're doing like a West Marches campaign, I guess is what they call it, where they have multiple tables, so that's
yeah.
all part of the same world but different groups of people. And so there's like 16 people or something playing in this campaign, um, but they're not all going to be playing every week. So things are going to slow down a little bit. I'll be able to track who everyone is a little bit better. And I'm starting to get the vibe of these people. I'm really having a good time with it now. So I don't know how things will unfold from here. It's not as funny as Dimension 20 because it's not improvisational comedians. It's dramatic voice actors and comic voice actors too. And it's not like there's no fun to be had. They're goofy. They're having a good time. They're playing a game. You should have fun when you're playing a game. So yeah, I'm starting to enjoy it, and I'm hoping that by the time I get to the end of it, I will be able and willing to go back and watch campaign 1 and 2 and 3. So really, really looking forward to continuing my journey in I don't remember the name of the world of campaign 4, but I'm looking forward to it all the same.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for that. My review is both kind of a good and a bad one on just TikTok Shop. You know what? Every now and then I'm scrolling and I bite on one of the ads. I did need some more like cheap athletic shorts because I have to keep like athletic wear in multiple locations, and sometimes I just forget it. So I just need an option. Doesn't have to be great, just can't be bad, and I need an option. So, I bought like a 5-pack of athletic shorts, and I got them yesterday, put them on, and I had a hole in 2 of the pockets, right off the get, right out of the packaging. And here's where the good part comes in. I took a couple pictures, sent it to TikTok Shop saying, "Hey, here's what I got. What can y'all do about it?" And they said, "Hey, we'll just give you a full refund for like, and you can spend that balance in our shop." And it was quick, it was painless, and you know what? I get a credit is not as good as cash, but I'll take it, and it wasn't painless at least, or it wasn't painful, I should say. So
I
TikTok
think
Shop,
you were right the first time.
probably so. Probably so.
I'm not a big fan of the global shift from refunds to credit. I understand why they do it, because credit is worth less to them than money, because whatever product you buy with the credit, they paid less for in real money. That's how that works. Um, but it's devaluing to the consumer. It's not consumer friendly. So I'll
I
jump
fully
off my
agree.
capitalism soapbox, but I had to jump on for a second.
God, Jeremy, we're gonna get so many comments now. How dare you?
I know. Should be used
All
to
right,
it by now.
comrade. Well, let's go ahead and get on out of here. That has been today's edition of the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. Make sure you subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to us at. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole shebang, YouTube as well. Go check us out over there. But most importantly, go and engage on royalsreview.com. And by engage, I don't just mean comments. I don't mean likes. I don't mean the feed. I mean read what we got, take it in, and support the team over there at royalsreview.com. I am Jacob Milham. They're Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, go Royals.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.